So are you living according to the values your father taught you, your mother taught you, your teacher taught you, or your soccer team coach taught you? Because people are going to remember, as Maya Angelou has told us, how you made them feel. Remember, the enemy of not dying unknown is an unlived life. When I introduced this new podcast, I told you that it's inspired by my book. It's not about the book. Some of you may recall that in 2021, I published this memoir, I Don't Want to Die Unknown. We need to listen to our inner voice. Now, throughout the journey of my life, and as captured in parts of the book, I've realized that there are key 4 pillars that have been guiding me over the years, and I think most of you as well. So during the conversations I'll be having, during my solo reflections, I'm going to be talking about 4 key pillars. We're going to touch on these 4 key pillars. 1, values. And the second one is the inner voice. And the third one is spirituality and faith, not religion. And finally, the importance of family. Now, you would know that if you're a professional today, if you've been a manager, if you've been a leader of an organization, whatever sector you found yourself working in professionally, all organizations will ascribe to a set of values. Sometimes they'll go through exercises to define and develop those values, and they'll end up being displayed on some walls. I mean, values like integrity, excellence, honesty, teamwork, and so forth. But most times you would agree that in many organizations, including some that I've worked in myself over the last 4 decades of my professional life, they end up just being displayed. They're not lived. You'll find them on the walls, and in worst case scenarios, they'll be somewhere in a drawer of some office of some manager or leader gathering dust, but not being lived. But if you look back at your life, you would understand and you would agree with me, you also have values as a person, not just as a professional. Long before you walked into an office, long before you walked into an association or a club, you were already living according to a set of values. And what I found is that in my life, there have been defining moments where values are tested. When you are on your own and you are looking in the mirror, you find that it's a moment that tests you. Either, for example, there's a big decision that is being made in the organization. You are the leader, but it does not align with a particular value. Let's just take honesty as an example. Maybe they want to cut corners. Maybe they want to implement a decision that they know will affect people negatively, but they don't tell the employees about that negative impact. But you as an individual, you've grown up knowing and understanding that the value of honesty is important. So you will find through your journey that you face a defining moment that tests you, either the value of patience, as simple as a value of patience that maybe you grew up with. I have been put through a lot of tests in my career of more than 40 years as a professional, where there were a number of defining moments where I had to make a decision that to many people might have seemed odd, but to me, it aligned with my internal value. And when those defining moments come in your life, as you will know, if you haven't had that moment already, or as you know already, you will have to make the right decision according to the value. For example, I was working in one corporate once, and there was a situation where we had to make certain decisions around the future of the organization and the involvement of the top management and leadership. A decision was made to go in one direction. It didn't work out. I'm not going to go into many details yet because I'll talk about this particular corporate later on in the season of this episode of this podcast, Don't Die Unknown. But when that moment came to me, I had to make a very tough decision around whether or not I should go along with that or I should withdraw. In fact, I ended up resigning and leaving that organization because the value for me, which was key at the time, was a value of integrity. Very important. Now, the other aspect of values for many of us in today's world is how we define our lives. Okay? Many times, all of us, we look at success as a key thing to aspire to. But I want to argue during this podcast, Don't Die Unknown, in my conversations with other people, ordinary people I'll be talking to and some prominent individuals, I want to argue that the value of success in its own, for its own sake, is not good enough. Remember, you have to juxtapose it with significance. Because I've asked from the beginning of this podcast, Don't Die Unknown, what is a truly lived life? What is a life that is lived truly in a way that matters? How do you touch other people's lives? Is it just success for success' sake? Many of us spend time chasing success. We spend time wanting to climb up the ladder so we reach the top of the chain, whatever that food chain is in our organizations, in our lives. But is it significant? Are you climbing up that ladder as you step on people's heads, or are you climbing on that ladder as they raise you up and you also raise up other people? Okay, that is a life of significance. So we'll talk about that kind of value. The other aspect around values for me is legacy. What are we leaving behind? As I've said, it will be a sad day for you to have lived your life, being born here, lived your life, and you did not have an impact beyond yourself. You didn't have an impact around people who are around you. And the reason I'm saying this is that we have a responsibility. We carry a responsibility to leave this world better than when we found it. When we came here, we found this world in a particular space. You as an individual, you bring gifts here. You bring in certain talents. You acquire certain skills. So are you going to use all of that collection to leave a good legacy, leave this world in a better place than when we were born, than how you found it? We have that responsibility. It's a huge, huge value. I learned from my father that you live well with people. It's a very important value. It's not about you just chasing success for success' sake. You want to live well with people. I understood it to mean you respect yourself, to respect others. Doesn't matter. You walk into a building, you walk into any place, whoever you are, no matter how many degrees you have, no matter your title at work, you greet people. It's as basic as that. If you walk into a place and you find people there, it is your responsibility to greet first, to say, hello, good morning, how are you? Whether it's a cleaner, whether it's a lady who makes tea, whether it's a guy who's fixing something, your aircon, whatever, in whatever situation, that is a good value to aspire to. So are you living according to the values your father taught you? Are you living according to the values that your mother taught you? Are you living according to the values that perhaps, if you didn't have a father, your teacher taught you, or your soccer team coach taught you? You should really know that a life that's going to have impact around values is going to ensure that you don't die unknown. Because people are going to remember, as Maya Angelou has told us, how you made them feel. Not how you looked, not how well-dressed you are, not what Porsche car you were driving. None of that matters. It's how you made them feel. So are you living according to values that you were imbued with when you were young? I mean, many of us were brought up by grandmothers, and those gogos and those grannies instilled in us certain type of values. So as an adult today, and as we journey together in this podcast, Don't Die Unknown, we're going to be asking ourselves, are we living according to the values that really matter, so that we are living a full life that matters, not an unlived life? Because remember, the enemy of not dying unknown is an unlived life. And a lived life is a life where you hold on to those basic values that mean a lot to you. It doesn't have to be a list of values. It doesn't have to be like a long laundry list of values. It can be one or two values. My mother taught me the value of kindness and generosity. And I've lived according to that, even when I didn't realize it. Because I used to fight with my mother. My mother would have nothing in the kitchen. Remember, she was a domestic worker. She never went to school. But somebody will come from next door and says, Mama Tsakani. That's my African name, for those who don't know. My full name is Daniel Tsakani Moyane. But I know now more as Dan Moyane because of my media profile. So my mother would say, Tsakani, no, but I need to help. She would take her best set of cutlery and lend it to them when people had nothing. She'll take the last bit of whatever she had, maybe even that half chicken, and share it. She was so kind that even when she was insulted, sworn at by neighbors. I mean, we lived with some rude neighbors in White City, in Soweto, where I grew up. My mother would never return the insult. And one day I asked her, Mom, how can people are swearing at you and you say nothing? She said, does it leave a stamp here to say they've insulted me? It's not on my forehead. Nobody knows I've been insulted. I know, and how I carry myself. So she had this depth of kindness and forgiveness, and she was a generous soul. So the value of generosity and kindness still lives with me today. Do you have such an example in your life? I'm sure you do. Not just from your mother. It could be from an uncle. It even could be a friend that you met at school. You guys got along together, and he or she, left something in you, which is a value. The other important issue around values for me is, in today's world, there's too much noise. As I said in my introduction, we are bombarded with information. But all of us are seeking that stillness sometimes. We're seeking wisdom and guidance. We want to live with integrity. But integrity is put under pressure today. Fake news, for example. As somebody who's worked in media for more than 40 years, I know the impact of that. So, lived ethics is a value. What do I mean by that? It's doing the right thing even if nobody's watching all the time, even when you are on your own. That is lived ethics. And integrity will come under pressure. You will be put under pressure. I've been put under pressure. I'm sure about that, where your values, whatever the values are, would be challenged. But will you hold on with integrity under pressure and you live ethically? We look around us today in the world, we question some of our leaders in our country, South Africa, and the rest of the world. Are they really living with integrity? Are they leading with integrity? When they go to bed at night, do they sleep peacefully? You look back on the end of your day, you said, I was put under pressure there, but I held on to the value of respect. I held on to the value of being generous. I held on to the value of being kind. But I was under pressure to make a different decision. Do you go for that big deal because it's 200 and something million rand, but it's coming from someone or some source that has got a questionable past? Or do you step away from it to say, you know what, in this organization, I will invest with somebody or I'll partner with somebody provided they are honest. So even if I'm under pressure from the shareholders to say I must do the deal, I won't be dealing with it. So all those are aspects of values that we'll be talking about. I'll explore some of them, asking some of the guests who will come on here. And in the next episode, for example, I'm looking forward to talking to Dr. Roel Koza to find out from him, as a leader in society who's come under a lot of pressure, what were the key values that have driven him when nobody was watching. As I say, you will come under pressure sometimes. You'll be facing situations where people are asking you to do the thing that you know is not aligned to your value, where you might feel that you are asked to compromise on your values, okay? It's not easy because sometimes some people can really be persuasive and they can be very insistent as well and put you under a lot of pressure. What I found has helped me in many situations, for example, where you have to make a decision whether or not as a manager you employ someone or you don't employ someone, or you're put under pressure to increase somebody's pay or not, or you are put under pressure to be able to get rid of somebody, but you don't feel in an organization that it is justified. Or a friend of yours is asking you to go along with a scheme of theirs against an individual that when you feel it's not the right thing to do. I've learned the following. One, you don't agree immediately to anything. You listen, you hear them out, and then you say, I need to think about this. Therefore, you step back to give yourself time to breathe because the pressure might be too much. And in stepping back, you must be truthful to yourself. What is the cost of this? You must hold on to your value, no matter the cost. Because the person who's going to be regretting is not the people that you are acceding the pressure to, that you are agreeing with to compromise. It is you. When you are lying down on your bed that night, when you're sitting on the couch having your drink, as you reflect on the day, you are the one who's going to regret the most. So do not compromise on your values at all. There are many moments where you will make a decision based on your values, but there's a voice of doubt that says, am I making it the right way? Is it my ego speaking, or is it really me holding on to my value? I mean, once I was under pressure to go along with a plan in a corporate company, and then I was accused by the very people who had been with later on when I was not playing along. I was accused of literally, I'll call it now, corporate treason. And then I looked at this. There was a lot of money involved. And then I stepped back from it to think about it. And then my value said, you must resign. You can't be part of this. You can't take any more of this. To walk away from a big salary, and you have 4 children, and you don't have a job, you don't know what else is coming. It's crazy, isn't it? It's madness. It was the hardest decision I had to make. But fortunately for me, I have a partner, my wife, Odette, who said to me, you must do the right thing. Whatever is right. We will face the future together. So that kind of support as well assist you. But I walked away, I resigned, and I did not know. For 1 year, I didn't have a job. I did not know what to do. I didn't even think clearly about how. But looking back more than a year later, it was the best decision I could make, because I walked away from something that could have made it worse for me going forward. Because what I had afterwards, what was happening in that organization was terrible. So I'm looking forward to talking to Dr. Khoza about values. But what about you? Do you sit back nowadays in this noisy world and reflect on your values? Are you living them? And what are your values telling you right now to do? Think about that.